Hello, everybody. This is an overview of the thinking review questions. Hopefully, you took a little bit of time and attempted these because these are a great review of the pathways, and these are the type of questions you'll get on the exam. So again, all of these thinking review questions will be in the same format where I'll try to have the pathway here so you can take a look at it while we're talking about it, along with the questions you see here that are from your notes. And then what I've done here is I've provided, again, the questions along with the answer, whether or not it increases or decreases, and here's the rationale or justification. So all of these will be in the same format, all the thinking review question reviews. So again, it's important for you to try to do these prior to looking at this video, and then you can check your answers and make any changes you need to. So again, let's start off here with the first one. The question is again, what would happen to foam cell development, increase or decrease in the intima with the following? The first is a decrease in LDL in the diet. So again, the answer, you have a decrease in the foam cell development. And the reason for this is the fact that you have a reduction in LDLs that are in the body and the blood. So less LDLs would come into the coronary artery intima, which means less modified LDL. With a decrease of modified LDL means there's going to be less MCP1 that's going to develop, and therefore less of the monocytes are going to be coming into the cell. And therefore the remaining steps, when you have less modified LDL, means less monocytes are going to be changed to macrophages, and therefore less cytokines, adhesion molecules, and then again steps 3 through 7 would be reduced. And when you have less modified LDL, you're going to have less of them to be taken up by the macrophages. So that is why you have a decrease in foam cell development when you have a decrease in LDL in your diet. So again, working with a client, you want to help reduce plaque buildup, have the client reduce the amount of high-fat foods. The second is an increase in the antioxidants in the diet. Now, an antioxidant is something that that helps to calm those hyperactive oxygen molecules, those free radicals we talked about, and when they're missing an electron. Well, antioxidants will give an electron to that oxygen that's missing an electron, and it calms it down, and therefore it won't be able to cause the damage throughout the body. So the idea is, so less free radical or more free radicals in the body, therefore it causes a reduction in the free radicals. So more antioxidants reduces free radicals in the body, less free radicals in the body reduces the modification of LDL, and therefore the remaining steps 2 through 7 will be reduced. And therefore you're going to have less macrophages, less modified LDLs to be taken up by macrophages, and therefore less foam cell development. Also, you have the blocking of cytokines in the intima due to exercise. So you prescribe someone to do exercise, and that's going to cause a decrease in foam cell development. And the reason for that is that we have a reduction in cytokines that reduces the amount of adhesion molecules that are going to be made. Less adhesion molecules means less sticking and rolling of the monocyte. Therefore, less monocytes come in, less macrophages are made, and therefore less foam cells are formed. The next is the increase in free radicals. Now, if you have an increase in free radicals, essentially is the opposite of number 2. So increase in free radicals means you're going to have an increase in the modification of LDL. More modified LDLs means more MCP, means more monocytes in, and essentially steps 2 through 7 will be increased. More macrophages are going to be into the intima. Therefore, they're going to more modified LDLs are taken up by the more macrophages, and there more foam cells are made. What about you block scavenger receptors on the macrophage? Well, if you block the scavenger receptor on the macrophage, that reduces the ability of the modified LDL to be taken up by the macrophage, and therefore you're going to have a decrease in the amount of foam cells. What about you block MCP1 activity? Well, if you block MCP1 activity, that means you have less of the monocytes getting into the cell, into the intima, therefore less monocytes, less macrophages. Less macrophages means less modified LDL and less foam cells being developed. So the other thing is you have an increase in E-selectin. If you have an increase in E-selectin, you're going to have an increase in foam cells. And the reason for that is you have more adhesion molecules that are formed, more monocytes are going to roll and stick, and therefore more monocytes are going to come into the cell to form macrophages, and more modified LDLs are taken up by those macrophages to form foam cells. So E-selectin is going to increase the amount of foam cell formation. And finally, what if you have an increase in modified LDL? So an increase in modified LDL, but a block in cytokine development. Well, what's going to happen here is you're going to have a decrease in the cytokines are going to result in less adhesion molecules. If you have less adhesion molecules, they're going to decrease the monocytes that are able to enter the intima of the coronary artery. Less monocytes entering the cell results in a decrease in macrophages. And less macrophages are going to result in less foam cell formation. All right, so this is just an overview of what happens, again, at the various scenarios that might happen that might cause foam cell development to increase or decrease, and then the rationale. Again, this is a very important one. I'd recommend that you practice this several times until you have a good understanding, because these are the types of questions you'll see on the exam. And frankly, they're also the type of questions that provide a little bit more real-life scenarios to them. So as we go throughout the course, take advantage of these thinking review questions, review them, and make sure that you have a good understanding of them.